Be advised, this video is for immature and fun people only. If you take your pastor seriously, please do not keep watching. Otherwise, enjoy.
Kaboom! Kaboom!
Hey kids, this is Physics Minor and your lead pastronaut, Pastor Reed Peterson here with another children's science experiment sermon. And our sermon today has to do with the story of two brothers. Now, the question is, do you have a sibling? And for those that do you fight sometimes? Do you get on each other's nerves? Maybe you do it with a cousin or friend. And Jacob and Esau had some troubles. And so what I want to do is I want to read you this story, and then I want to talk about our science experiment. So here's the story of Jacob and Esau. Jacob and Esau were brothers. Jacob was always grabbing things that belonged to Esau. One day Esau was very, very hungry. In exchange for his birthright, Jacob gave Esau some soup. Later, Esau's fathers asked for venison stew, and Esau went hunting for some venison, and while Esau was gone, Jacob tricked his father and gained his brother's blessing. Now, Esau was mad. So Jacob, he ran away. Jacob worked, he got married while he was running away, and after many years, God heard him speak to him that he wanted to go home. But Jacob was scared. Even though God had said, go back to your home, Jacob was scared, and Jacob kind of wondered how Esau felt, so he sent messengers ahead to go talk to Esau. And the messengers came back and said that Esau had an army of over 400 people, and Jacob got more and more scared, and he prayed. And he feared. But sure enough, when Esau finally saw Jacob, he didn't come with a stick or a sword, but he opened his arms to hug his brother. He had forgiven his brother, and there was now peace between them. Now, that story has to do with forgiveness, right? Well, what I want to talk to you about is a science experiment using water to talk about reactions and the effects that what we do can have on everybody else. And so, remember, during this science experiment, you got to have fun, you got to giggle, you got to bring your protective eyeglasses. So, let's get going. Whoa! Hey, we made it to the Sunday school room, and today we're talking about reactions. Now, for the science experiment, or the science portion, I want to tell you there's a simple law in physics, Physics Minor, I know what I'm talking about, that things want to remain calm. They don't want to move. They don't want to expend energy when they don't have to. Kind of like this water. As you can see, it's still. Unlike maybe a pond or a lake or an ocean, if you've seen something, there's nothing moving in this water. It's just remaining calm. But if I were to take this object, this rock, and put it into the water, throw it into the water, drop it into the water, what it does is I'm adding energy into the pool, into the water. And so that water is going to take that energy and it's just going to start moving up and down. And that's how we see waves, we see splashes. And one thing you'll notice with this science experiment is that if I throw a smaller object in, it creates less energy, therefore the less waves, not as big of a reaction. But if I take a bigger rock, it's going to make an even bigger reaction than other ones. For the sake of this room, this is the largest rock I'm dealing with. I do have 3 rocks here. But let's take a look. We're going to zoom in on the pool, and we're going to see what happens with reactions. Remember, Esau's initial reaction was anger, and so therefore Jacob became scared. But when Esau's reaction was forgiveness, Jacob's reaction was peace and love. And so, Let's take a look. Let's zoom in. Here we go. So, did you see the difference in the slow motion between the little rock, the medium rock, and the big rock? They make different waves. There's different reactions. And just like the reactions that we make, the actions that we make, there's reactions that happen from them. Imagine your dad comes home from work. He's had a long day. He's had a rough day, and so you try to talk to him, but he seems to be really frustrated with you. He doesn't have a lot of time to pay attention to you, so you get maybe a little angry. And you turn to your sibling or your other parent, and you act out. Maybe you shout at them, you yell at them, right? That's a reaction from something that happened to you. Well, then maybe, let's say it's your sister, you yell at your sister. Well, now your sister goes to the dog and doesn't treat the dog very nice. It's all different reactions like we saw in this pool. Ripples that can happen. Now imagine if Esau spent his whole time trying to kill his brother because he was so mad at him. The ripples that would constantly happen would be fear and running away. It would be anger. And it's the same with us. Instead, what he did was he changed that reaction to a big, giant rock of love and forgiveness. Imagine the reactions that happen when you get a hug. When you get someone that does something nice for you, perhaps they give you a gift, or maybe they pick up your clothes for you, or they do that chore that you were supposed to do. In that moment, they are sharing love, and what does it want you to do? There's this feeling of, someone's done something loving for me, so I want to do something loving for others. Jesus calls us to have a reaction of love towards people, to love one another. And so today's experiment is a nice lesson that what we want to do is when we feel angry or we feel wronged or someone we feel we want to act out of some not so nice feelings, what we want to do is we want to try to minimize our actions out of anger so that the reactions are smaller. And we want to overemphasize, we want to grow our reactions of love and forgiveness for others so that it can have a giant reaction and it can spread out for all our family members and friends and everyone in our community. When we act in big ways of love, people will know what that's like. And that looks like maybe doing a chore for a sibling or giving someone a hug or just saying the words, "I love you." They're all instances. But you know what? Sometimes these grudges are something you hold against someone. Maybe your brother or your sister or your mom or your dad did something and it's really made you mad, but they did it a couple days ago, but you're still holding on to that kind of anger. What I want you to do is I want you to find a rock, and I want you to take a Sharpie or a marker, and I want you to write down that grudge on that rock. We're gonna write it together. So you see, I've written the word grudge. I know what grudge I'm talking about. It's something that's made me angry. And if you would join me outside, I'm going to show you what to do with this grudge. So, what do we want to do with our big grudges. I'm out here by the flower pot in front of the church, and here's what I want you to do. After you've seen all the splashing you can make with rocks, all the reactions, what I want you to do is to take these big grudges, to write down what your big grudge might be. Maybe brother hit me, sister yelled at me, someone made me do something that I didn't want to do, something like that. I want you to take that big grudge, you can go outside, maybe you know where there's some sand, and I want you to dig up some dirt, and then I want you to take that grudge and bury it. Don't let it be a part of your life anymore. Bury it, let it go away, and there we go. We covered it, it's gone. Perhaps, like Esau, we're called to act in love instead of hold on to those grudges. So this is your pastronaut, who happens to be a physics minor, signing off and saying God loves you, and have a great week.
Kaboom! Kaboom!